to thinking about things.
Two girls shoved in a locker.
Yeah. Oh.
See, seriously, don't do that to me, because I'll die. 3, 2. Hi, and welcome to the Sports Show. I'm Denise, and I'm here with Jesse. We're going to kick things off tonight talking about the first ever rain-delayed World Series game. What do you think last night?
I was upset. I thought they should have called it so much earlier.
Yeah.
Because the conditions of the field compromise the integrity of the competition, and that's not all right. It's a World Series game.
It is. I think they should have checked the forecast beforehand, saw that there's a 99% chance that it was going to start pouring, and possibly rescheduled it for Thursday, because that's going to be the next nice day.
Right.
Now, with that said, since the Phillies were up for most of the game, I was okay with them keep playing. Because you know that if they would have ended it at the bottom of the fifth, and the Phillies, until they changed that rule in 2007, so hence less than a year ago, if they would have ended the game in the bottom of the fifth, the Phillies would have been up and the World Series would have been over. Phillies would have taken it.
Right, exactly.
But you saw what happened in the
sixth. But it was huge. The Rays got the tying, 2-2 score. Supremely important. I was really excited because, I want the Phillies to win, but at the same time, everybody loves the godforsaken underdog. And so I can't help but I actually just want the series to last longer.
Right. And
so
it's
whoever's down
game.
At any given point, yeah.
So you know how usually they just rain delay and sometimes they'll start the game over, just a whole brand new game, but it's a suspended game. It's going to start the bottom of the sixth.
Right.
Phillies up to bat, and they haven't picked a day yet because today is supposed to be all rain.
Right.
So they can't play it again tonight. So I'm assuming that they're probably going to reschedule it for, I don't know, Thursday,
Maybe
Friday
Thursday.
night game.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a nice showdown because, the Phillies will, if they come on top, which I know that they're going to, just
you never
a little
know.
confident.
You never know.
If they come out on top and they win, it's going to break the 25-year drought for Philadelphia teams.
Oh, yeah. Has it been 25 years?
It has been. 1983, the Sixers took the championships.
Wow.
And since 1983, they have come so close so many times and just can't seem to seal the deal. So that's what we got. That's what we have to deal with, and we'll see. What else did you think about the game? You think it was a pretty exciting game?
I think it was exciting just because if the Phillies were to win, then it would be all over. So the stakes were incredibly high. So I was completely on the edge of my seat, and I was pulling for the Rays because, like I said, I just want this to continue.
I cannot believe you're from Pennsylvania.
I know,
Jeez.
but I'm a fan of the sport, so anything that will sustain the sport is what I'm favoring.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love for it to go all full games, and then the Phillies come out on top.
Yeah, well, I'll be happy if the Phillies win. I'll surely be happy, come on. But it's still it's exciting, and I'd like to see them pull out a miracle. I just wouldn't be sad if that were to occur.
Yeah, it is a nice World Series game to watch, but let me switch gears just a little bit. Did you see, and this happened last week, we didn't have a chance to touch on it last week, but a story that I think is worth mentioning. How about the older lady, my bad, because she's not a young lady. She's the older lady who, I guess some teenage boys were playing football.
Right, in her 80s, right?
Yeah, so far from a chick.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I guess chick constitutes like 20, 30?
Sure.
Okay.
Football ends up in her yard, and the controversy is she keeps the football.
Right.
Now, my take on this is...
And she was arrested for keeping the football.
Oh, yeah, $1,000 fine, and she could face up to 5 years in jail.
Yeah.
Now, my thought on this is these kids were clearly antagonizing this woman, throwing the football in her yard constantly.
Right,
really,
this was a repeated occurrence.
It definitely was. So then finally the lady gets sick of it. This is my yard. You threw your crap in my yard. Now it's my property. And now she's facing these charges. Everybody else is all up in arms. Hey, those are the kids' football. Why are you such a grumpy old lady? Give the football back to the kids.
It's a football, for God's sake. Leave the lady alone.
Exactly.
I think she's
Your
89.
Take is exactly my take.
Yeah,
that's
it's
how I
pathetic.
feel about it. I think it's outrageous. She's going to have to pay a $1,000 fine when she could just have the opportunity now to give the football back to the boys. But I just found that to be an interesting
story. And screw the boys, man.
Yeah, go play somewhere else.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
so close to her yard line.
Leave her alone, for God's sake. It's not all right. And the police officer who arrested her should feel like a bastard.
Yeah, he probably should. So on that note, when we come back, we're going to get right into the NFL because we had a pretty exciting weekend. We've got a lot of games to touch on and talk about the highlights. So
yes, big issues I want to talk about.
Big time, big issues. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with the NFL. That's how you point to that camera.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was trying to keep the 50-50 shit going.
At that one.
What?
Yeah.
You guys are supposed to
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Closing over there, even though you're here.
Can you run over there so she could follow?
Kind of. That's okay, though. I can handle it.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Now we're going to talk about something I feel very passionately about, which is this Larry Johnson debacle. As you know, he was officially charged now.
Yes, he's been out, what, two weeks? He's been through the NFL. He hasn't had any other charges, any police charges filed against him. But the NFL now has benched him for 2 consecutive weeks for the October 10th issue of spitting a drink into a young woman, 24-year-old girl at a club.
And threatening to kill her boyfriend, apparently.
How did that, see, I didn't get all the details. How did it initiate?
I don't know.
Randomly
I don't
walked
know
up
what...
to someone, hey, I'm a big football player, I'm going to kill your boyfriend, now I'm going to spit at you?
Yeah, good question. I have no
Okay.
idea. I don't know if he fancied her. And that, I mean, why else would you threaten a man who was with a woman?
Fancied her?
Yeah, I'm British
How about
now.
Okay. Well, I guess Larry Johnson fancied a couple other women in the past because
Yeah, this is the fourth
his
time, right?
This is his 4th time. The other 4, or the other 3, I should say, it was because he actually physically assaulted.
Right.
You know,
Aggravated
not that spitting
assault.
a drink is
Yeah.
any better, but he actually put his hands on a woman and has aggravated assault charges on
Yeah.
him.
In
So-
2003, he waved a gun at his girlfriend at the time, aggravated assault against
Yeah.
her. I guess he pushed her to the ground. That seems to be his favorite move, apparently, because that's what he did in
he's big and
2005 and
strong.
2008.
Yep. I mean,
So
knock
he
you
likes
down.
to throw them down. Yeah.
Power
But
trip.
nothing ever happens to him, which infuriates me because this is so far from acceptable.
Right.
And he's
So
in an
let's compare this. Go ahead. I know you want
No,
to
no,
vent
you
about
can
Larry
I
Johnson
know, I know.
because I
Well-
know that your feelings on him.
I know. I'm very upset about it. We can transition, though, to the steroid story
Well, I was
if you
going
want,
to say,
because
how
then
do
we
you
can
feel
compare.
about Larry Johnson getting a 2-week suspension for assaulting, his 4th aggravated assault charge against women, but now you have some other NFL players who are taking diuretics, essentially, and they're being suspended for, I think it's 8 games?
4 weeks at least.
Or 4 weeks?
They said
Yep.
4 weeks at least. Maybe it is 8 games now, because that was actually this morning when I heard that, and who knows what's transpired in the last, however many hours. But yeah, that's
So is
insane.
that fair?
No, that's crazy. That's
But
horrifying.
we take diuretics, once a month. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't find that as serious a crime as assaulting someone,
Yeah.
putting your hands or putting your drink from your mouth on another person, but yet the fine doesn't really suit the crime in this case, in my opinion. But we have Deuce McAllister. What are some of the other players? I want to say that there were 2
Oh, yeah. Who
Viking
else is there?
players.
Will Smith, Kevin Williams.
Yeah,
They're
from the
also
Saints,
suspected.
Will Smith from the Saints.
No, nothing's been confirmed, so we should specify that all of this is potentially hearsay.
And I think the
However,
diuretics are a way to cover up maybe steroid
Steroids,
use.
exactly,
Because
which is
they're
what
pumping
they're
up
saying.
the steroids, the diuretic then flushes it out, so when they get tested, it's not showing up as a positive read. So in that case, it should be definitely investigated further, I think,
Yeah.
because to do any illegal drug in the NFL obviously gives you the upper advantage and should have a consequence and shouldn't be allowed. And
Yeah.
but again,
But I think the NFL should hang their head in shame for this. This is absolutely unacceptable.
agreed.
Assault against a woman, is treated less severely than taking diuretics. That's absolutely preposterous and
So we feel the same on
insulting
that.
and terrible.
I know
yeah, I'm
something
really
else
upset
that we're
about that.
going to feel the same on. How about our poor Steelers taking a loss this week?
Oh, yeah, I know. That was sad.
In Steeler territory. So they're in Heinz Field, and they lose to the Giants.
And they've been doing so well.
I know.
Great record so far, which
I
they'll
don't know
be
what
fine.
was
They'll
up with
recover.
Ben. I don't know. It seemed like he didn't have his targets. He didn't have his open receivers. He just didn't look real strong. It wasn't a high-scoring game.
Yeah.
And the Giants, Eli Manning, I thought he wasn't looking too good either. He got a little disheveled a couple times with some of the play calls, and I thought that the Steelers would be able to pull out the win. So I was disappointed when they went down.
I was too.
Because they were going to be 2 of the better teams going into, 2 Super Bowl hopefuls, actually.
Yeah.
2
Well,
that
they
have
still
been
might be,
mentioned.
though,
And they definitely still can.
I think,
And then we
yeah.
have the Steelers coming this Monday night that I will be at the game. It's going to be
Yes. You have to
the
take some
Redskins
pictures
hosting
and-
the Steelers for the Monday night matchup. And I think, and I'm pretty certain because I like to go into things confidently, I think that the Steelers can pretty much hold their own and take down Jason Campbell and his team.
Yeah?
And
Oh, you're losing fans, Denise.
Hey, that's
Viewers
okay.
are turning
Hey,
away,
that's okay, 'cause
giving you
we'll-
the finger.
we'll talk on Tuesday, and then we'll say who was right.
Yeah.
But no, I got great seats right above
Yeah.
the Steelers tunnel, so I can't wait to give them all high fives as Heinz Ward. How about
Yeah.
the Heinz Ward thing? Have you heard about that at
No.
all? He has been, and we should have brought this up last week when we were talking, but he has been charged off field, so no charges, no penalties during the game, but off field he's been charged, or fined I should say, by the NFL for being one of the more aggressive players. So he's being
Oh,
fined
yeah,
for his
yeah, yeah, yeah.
aggressiveness, but during the game there was never any penalties.
Right, which
so I
makes
don't
no
understand
sense. It's
if you don't get
completely-
penalized during the game, how do you get a thousands of dollars fine thrown at you for being aggressive? And now they're saying there's a bounty out on him.
A bounty?
A bounty to take him out, which means to injure him for the not kill him. It means to injure him for the rest of the season. So this
Wow.
way he's out. And he asked Heinz Ward, how does he feel about that? He's like, he's flattered. That means I'm a big threat
Oh,
to
come
every
on
other team.
now.
Now I love Heinz Ward. He's got the biggest
what if-
smile. It's affectionate, and I'm a big Heinz Ward fan.
Yeah. Well, all right, we got plenty more to talk about. I need a moment to, calm down from the Larry Johnson chaos. So stay with us. We will be back shortly. That was a really shitty outro. Sorry.
I looked at the main
Fuck.
camera.
Oh, shit.
I did. I was like, hey, I'm not closing.
See,
but
I
I'm
just go to
looking.
the people, And I'm like,
I forgot about that.
there.
Hands.
In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hi, and welcome back. So to summarize up the NFL, it's all the Redskins fans that I shied away. Just let me tell you, the Redskins are still on their streak. Jesse, they pulled off another win this weekend.
They did.
So they are going into the Steelers game that I was so high on the Steelers about, with the potential to actually pull off another win. So we will see, because they are on their streak and they are playing well.
And you never know.
And then the Patriots. The Patriots weren't doing, so hot, but they're back with a 5-2 record, back in first place in the AFC. And then the Colts, Peyton Manning. He's like the star of the NFL, and we see that the Colts really aren't having a superb season this year. The only team, and it's just to sum up the NFL, the only team right now in the NFL that remains undefeated are the Titans.
Right, 7-0.
7-0,
They're
the
doing
Titans.
incredibly well, yeah.
And Vince Young controversy that happened early in the season, the Vince Young and his mom and everything else, so he got benched. I'm not sure if you heard about that.
I don't know about this.
But
What's
his mom
the
was
mom
talking a lot
controversy?
of, she, baby's her son. So
Okay.
you guys are so hard on my son. He gets so upset, blah, blah. So that didn't take over well with the fans. They're like, he's a
bad
grown
press.
man, yeah. So they benched Vince Young, and then 36-year-old Penn State alum Kerry Collins takes over as quarterback.
Kerry Collins.
And he's
Denise,
been
if
leading
I
the
remember
team.
correctly,
You remember
you
nothing.
know Kerry Collins.
I did get to
think
know
you
Kerry
should
Collins.
Tell us a little bit about
pretty
Kerry
well
Collins.
in college, but I was a freshman.
When
he
you
was a
say
senior.
no, what does that mean?
Yeah, I got to know him pretty well.
Like had
Moving
relations
on to,
with? Had
college
relations
football.
with. I think
How
that's
about moving on to college football? How
All
about
right, okay.
Willingham?
Yes,
Coach Willingham,
fired.
Tyrone,
Fired, but they're 0-7, right? Is that what it was?
I think so. So
Yeah, Huskies are doing horribly. Do you think
Yes.
it's justified? Is that the way it should go? If they're performing poorly, it's the coach's fault and it's time to swap.
I think you have to look at back seasons. See if it's just a fluke. Does he not have a strong team? Does he have a young team? His team consists of his freshmen and sophomores that next year they can pull themselves together and be a good contender. I don't know. To be honest with you, I haven't followed the Huskies season so much, so I'm not sure what their records were last year or what their potential is to do next year. But what I am following, of course, you know it, right?
I don't know.
Penn State.
Oh, of course, Penn
Still
State and Ohio. Yes, of
undefeated.
course,
The first time since 1978 that they took down the Buckeyes at home for the Buckeyes.
Yeah,
Did you get
good
to watch
for
any
them.
of the game?
I didn't actually, no.
Because it was a nice showdown. A little bit again of a nail biter, as I said last week for that game as well. But they ended up pulling it off in the end, and now they're still ranked 3. But
And you did the victory dance around the house?
around the house,
Celebratory
I was
sounds.
out. I was doing victory dances everywhere I go,
In the
singing "We
street.
Are" and everybody else Penn State. So it was great. So
I
I am excited, and I'm thinking the only one now that has left. It was Michigan State we have coming up, and if Penn State can get by Michigan State, then
Yeah, when's that game?
the Michigan State game is actually the final game of the season, so that's going to be in 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
Yep, so I'm hoping to get up there for that game. So
And
keep your
whose
eyes
field
peeled.
is it on?
That one's home at Penn State.
Oh, okay.
So that's
Well,
in
that's
State
cool.
College,
That's
so
good
we
for
have
them.
that upper advantage.
Yeah.
And then what about politics now?
Yes, we should talk about this because we have some political endorsements from these,
I'm hearing
pro
that.
sports players. John Elway endorsed McCain, and then LeBron James threw an Obama rally, in
I
fact.
know.
And I'm
How
wondering,
about
does
that?
anybody care? Basketball player, retired football player, does anybody care what they think?
If you're asking, do I care? Absolutely not.
Okay. You think the fans care?
I think the naive fans may care who just don't have an opinion of their own.
Yeah.
But me as an undecided voter, I don't care that
No
John
influence
Elway,
whatsoever.
want McCain or what he has to say about McCain and vice versa with LeBron James and Obama. Their word isn't gospel to me, so
Yeah.
it doesn't influence me one way or another.
Can
And then
you
you have Condoleezza Rice.
Oh, yeah. What's going on with
The
that? They want her to be
49ers.
like a sponsor for their team or a
Not even a
spokesperson
sponsor.
or something?
Yeah, they want her to be like this high-level executive for the 49ers. Now, you as a woman
Condoleezza.
power, you've got to like Condoleezza, right?
Oh, but no, because I think that
No,
Condoleezza
Shoxy.
actually works against women
Okay,
in a
so
lot of ways.
Condoleezza and I are on the same boat, and you're
And,
across the way.
Cheese stands alone. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think she's a very smart, intelligent woman. So I think if she does join,
She is, indeed, definitely.
Yeah, if she
I just
gets on
hate the
board.
Bush administration, so it's difficult for me to endorse anybody related
Oh,
closely
guess we'll get off
to the Bush
politics
administration.
now before we disagree way too much. But yeah, Condoleezza Rice,
It's
they
a very
are
interesting move.
thinking for a high-level position
Yeah.
for the 49er squad. So I'd be curious to see because I think she could, influence them quite a bit.
And has this happened before with, pro sports players endorsing candidates and recruiting politicians to function as faces of the team? Is this new? Because it seems novel to me, but perhaps I'm not familiar enough with the history.
I think it is somewhat new because I can't think of when, we had John Kerry in the Bush Showdown, if I can put any faces to sports, to the athletes.
I don't
who are
remember
endorsing their
any
candidates.
endorsements like that. Again, maybe I just wasn't in the loop, but it seems like a new development in
Yeah.
America's political scene, which is interesting.
It is interesting. I think right now we have a lot of, athletes that are really trying to bring focus to different things. Most of it in a positive note, because I know the NFL right now is huge on this childhood obesity, which is dear to my heart because
Yes,
I run
the
a
nonprofit, yeah.
which is free after-school fitness nutrition. So the NFL and, as I said, a lot of these individual athletes. I was just last month or a couple weeks ago at an event with Andre Agassi, and he was there too promoting like tennis for the underprivileged youth.
Yeah.
So I think athletes are just the face behind a lot of things. So
Yeah.
whether it's political, you're putting a political face behind, a rally for a presidential candidate, that's just the way we're going.
Now,
Because
do they
our
want the
athletes
spotlight,
are our
or-
superstars.
They are,
So
but do they just want to be, glamorized and in the scene and on TV?
that'll be yet to see. So we have Election Day coming up, and we're going to see if
November
any, if
4th.
John Elway or LeBron James influenced our voters. We'll be back talking about Jesse's favorite, the UFC. We're going to touch on some hockey and much more. Thanks for coming back. They didn't come back yet.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back. We've talked about tons of great things today. We talked about our anticipation regarding the continuation of the Major League Baseball World Series. We talked about some NFL controversy. And now we are going to talk about my favorite segment, our final segment, which is UFC. And oh, Denise, I was so heartbroken. I was so heartbroken this weekend. Did you get to see the pay-per-view event?
Do you know what? Believe it or not, listen to this quick little story. So I'm out at a local sports bar, of course, watching my Saturday football. Penn State, Ohio State, sounds on, having a good time. All of a sudden, sound cut, UFC on, crowd changes, went nuts. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So my anger's rising. I'm trying to focus on my Penn State football, but I'm listening to UFC, so I keep turning
Didn't
my
they
head.
have numerous TVs, like all sports bars?
They did,
like
but it was sound.
spastically-
Since they paid for UFC, the sound was on UFC.
Oh,
So I was
I
like,
see, okay.
I'm going to take advantage of this. And I'm going to see what Jesse's world's all about.
Yes. Well, the title fight
Not
broke
a
my
fan
heart.
of your world, Jesse.
No, really?
No.
Oh, I think it's glorious. I love it.
So tell me, because I did see parts of it before I left because I couldn't take it. It
Okay.
just wasn't my scene. I just wanted to find a bar where I had some sound on the game.
Fair enough.
You talk
I understand.
UFC, I'll give you my input.
Okay. So the title fight, well, first of all, Josh Koscheck and Thiago Alves, I was excited because Josh Koscheck lost.
I know you're
and
not
I
a
think
fan
he
of
sucks.
Josh.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think he's a bad person. So I was happy about that. But then the title fight was so heart-wrenching because it was between Anderson Silva, a person who has not lost a match since 2004, middleweight belt holder. He's gone through every single person, just, completely picks them off as though they present no challenge whatsoever. And Patrick Cote is a guy who joined UFC, and his first 4 or 5 fights, he took at the very last minute. He hadn't trained properly, he wasn't ready in any way, but someone was injured, and he always filled in. So he lost a lot of his beginning fights.
Okay.
And therefore, it kind of, affected the reputation that he gained, but people weren't recognizing the fact that he had taken this, so last minute. And so he completely deserved this shot. The fight's going wonderfully. They get to the 3rd round. Nobody has gotten to the 3rd round with Anderson Silva. So this is a big deal.
Oh, nobody's gotten to the 3rd round. Oh, see, I didn't realize that.
This was a first, yes.
Okay.
So the first round, Anderson Silva probably won. Second one was kind of up in the air. Could have gone either way. And in the beginning of the 3rd round,
He lunges and
he tears his own ACL. It was so terrible, and I just stood there screaming like, no!
And then the
It was
TKO went to
horrible.
Silva.
Yeah, then Silva gets a TKO, and I think they'll have a rematch because nobody's
do
gotten
think
to the
they'll
3rd
have a
round.
rematch?
Yeah, I think they will.
Okay.
But he deserved this so much, and it just broke my heart. It sucked. I really wanted to see the fight continue because it was a great fight.
Right. I
And
only
it was,
caught, like
you
I
know-
said, I caught little pieces of it before I decided to up and leave.
Yeah.
But then I have to say, when I was over at the other bar continuing to watch the football, I was kind of curious, like, so I wonder what's going on with that coat fight. Oh yeah, it's Cote. And then I was a little curious, so I caught the highlights later that night.
Yeah.
And I heard and I saw the recap
Yeah.
of the torn ACL, and I knew you'd be heartbroken.
I know, and the crowd boos as though this, as though he chose this, as though he wanted this to occur. I mean, give me a break.
That seems to me the UFC culture, though. They're pretty
Yeah, sometimes the
tough-hearted
crowd is
fans.
retarded. Yeah, they just aren't cool sometimes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I experienced.
Yeah, rough demographic.
Standing right blocking my view.
Yeah.
I'm like, excuse me, watching the TV.
I know.
And they're like, go Koscheck, But I could see why you're not a big fan of Koscheck.
Yeah.
I was able to catch just a little bit because they show the little clips and the highlights and stuff.
Right.
So out of all of the 4 fighters that they showed and previewed, I'm with you. Not a huge fan of Josh.
Doesn't he seem like a jerk?
A little bit.
Constantly a jerk.
So that's my take on
He just can't be
him.
a fighter. He has to be an antagonistic person.
Person. I'm glad you
Good
rephrased that,
noun.
Jess.
Person. Yes.
And-
FCC. I'm with you.
What do you think? Have you
Abiding by the
heard,
rules.
anything about? Because I know that we're not huge hockey enthusiasts.
Oh yes, right.
But our big
But Ovechkin
Caps, Alex
isn't gonna be.
Ovechkin has gone on to Russia to see his ailing grandmother, which I think
Yeah.
is cute because I know that he's been torn between what to do, be here for his team, which he likes to do, but then I think as I know that it's my feeling, your family's always got to come first.
Yeah, definitely. So
Same
he'll
with
miss a
when
game, but-
Obama, we mentioned politics, same with when Obama went back to see his grandmother.
Right.
I think Ovechkin made the right decision, and he missed just one game previously in the past.
I know.
And this
so
is
it's probably
gonna be,
hurting him to be away, but
I'm sure it's
but he's
crushing
got to.
him.
Well, this was an awesome show. We'll have tons of things to talk about next week. I can't wait to see how this Major League Baseball World Series turns out. So
So we will be back with
Yeah.
a lot of other things to talk about next show. Stay with us. Sorry to jump in, but you're like cracking up, dude.